Welcome everyone, this is your host Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. First of all, this channel is proudly partnered with the What the Funk shop. Please check out their store for all sorts of products. They have dice, master screens, home decorations, and many other things. You will find the link in the description and in the pinned comment. And make sure that you use my code for a special discount. Today I am continuing the Vampire Hunter solo tutorial actual play. If you haven't seen the other part, the part 1 of this series, please check out the playlist in the description below. As usual, I am going to try to make it as clear as possible when I am playing the role of the Vampire Hunter Max Brown. Now he's just recently gone down this Vampire Hunter rabbit hole. He's an antiquarian that recently received his uncle's mansion as an inheritance. I'm also going to try to make it as clear as possible when I am coming up with the interpretations of the tables of the results. This game is played using a deck of standard playing cards. Definitely really a really good game. So check out the playlist, you will also find the review there. And so it begins. As Max, I stand up and exclaim enthusiastically, Cousin Paul, it is up to us to clear our uncle's reputation. The lawmen must not have the wrong idea as to the intentions of our good family. I now draw to determine Cousin Paul's response. Ransacked. Mirror. Cousin Paul responds, I am with you on this, but I also heard there was a valuable mirror among the relics. As Max, I respond, a mirror? Yes, cousin, a mirror. They took many things, but the mirror is of particular importance due to the legends of the land around our city. Or so I understand it. As Max, I speak. Well, then we have no moment to lose. Paul, please go and investigate more about this mirror and anything that has to do with the smuggling and how our uncle was supposedly connected to it. I will go and investigate the crime scene. I draw once more to determine Paul's response using the inspiration tables. Church. You mean in front of the church, correct? I've also wondered, could the church be involved with this smuggling operation? As Max, I speak. There is only one way to find out. Come, let us exit and be on our way. As Max, I step forward towards the door, motioning my cousin to follow me. I open the door and step outside. Cousin Paul accompanies Max. As Max, I say, cousin, the best of luck to you. Do not take any unnecessary risks. Cousin Paul replies, and you as well, Max. I know you were always the daredevil in the family, but now is not the time to take on the dangers by yourself. With that, cousin Paul walks away. As Max, I proceed with a hasty stride towards the church. I now draw a card using the village encounters. As Max approaches the church, he can hear the sounds of laughter and talking out loud as he notices various tables outside of the church. There is a celebration with many people all across the city making merry talks and simple games, eating and drinking. As Max, I approach the closest individual nearby. I draw to determine the closest person using the non-player character personality table. The result is greedy. A wealthy looking man with a top hat, well dressed, slightly overweight, with a cape, looks at Max. As Max says, speak. Good day, sir. What is this celebration about? I draw using the inspiration table. The man replies, ah, yes, you're that man that inherited the old mansion close to the lake, correct? Ah, we are celebrating the finding of a most unusual item. As Max, I say, an item. As an antiquarian, I must admit I am quite curious. What sort of item did you find? I draw using the item table to determine the object. The man replies, it was actually an elegant looking bag. As Max, I replied, all of this just for a bag? What is so important about it? I draw using the aristocrat background table to determine the importance of the bag. The man replies, well, it is not exactly the bag itself, but rather what is written on it. It contains very strange sigils, unknown characters. We have yet to determine the exact culture that used this language. As Max, I say, that is very peculiar. Do you know exactly where I could take a look at this bag? I draw using the city locations. Why, it is currently displayed in the public park, the man answers. As Max, I speak. Call it a hunch, but I suspect that bag is of great importance. Thank you so much, sir. What is your name? I use the table to determine the name. The man answers. My name is Frederick Hoffman. A pleasure to make your acquaintance. As Max, I reply. The pleasure is all mine, sir. Good day. Frederick replies. Good day to you. As Max, I make my way towards the park. I draw using the village encounters table. Funeral procession. As Max arrives at the park, he can hear a speech as a group of individuals dress elegantly with the usual scholar accessories and attires of books, glasses, and many scrolls on tables. They are showcasing a black bag of elegant make, seemingly of silk, with strange red markings on it. One of the men speaks. As you can see here, everybody, the bag seems to be associated with the funeral practices of the old aristocrats. A man in the audience speaks. You mean here in Ingolstadt? Yes, yes, the man replies. It is of particular interest because we have yet to determine what exactly these symbols mean. We are so desperate to the point that we would like to know if anybody has any guesses. As Max, I raise my voice. Could I take a look at the bag, sir? The man replies. Oh, a volunteer. Yes, come, come, quick. Please, come, come. As Max, I approach the gathering and examine the bag. I speak. Do you mind if I can handle it? The man replies. Yes, yes, go ahead. I take the bag, paying close attention at the angles and patterns of the symbols. This is a check. I draw 3 cards. This is a particularly difficult check. Using my search area of expertise, I draw 2 cards. Success. Ah, now I recognize where these markings came from. I say, as Max, as I look up and down the bag with enthusiasm. I now draw cards using the inspiration tables. Pleasure, historical legacy. As Max, I speak. This is clearly belonging to an old aristocratic family that put pleasure above everything else. It is part of the historical legacy of Ingolstadt, indeed. Now, if I remember correctly, the surname of the family was. I draw using the surname table. Yes, I remember now. The Kruger family. As Max, I continue. Say, do you happen to know if the smuggling incident was also related to the Kruger family? I draw 2 cards with a high chance of being a positive response. The man replies, no, no, it was not. They were a different, from a different collection. In fact, I am not sure who exactly was the proprietor of the various smuggled goods. As I understand it, it seems like they were taken from various places around. As Max, I continue. And do you happen to know if a certain ancient mirror that was recently involved, it was one of the smuggled goods, in fact. Do you remember if that mirror belonged to the Kruger family? I draw a single card to determine the yes or no. The man replies, no, it was not. I see. Thank you for your time. Not at all. You are most welcome. We are always trying to educate people on such matters. As Max, I walk away. I scratch my head as I consider my options. I walk towards the church once more, moving through the people that are celebrating, and enter the church, looking around to see if a priest is available. I draw with a high probability of it being a positive response at the presence of a priest. Max can see a man dressed in priestly robes putting away some items in a cabinet. As Max, I approach him and speak. I hope I am not bothering you, sir. My name is Max Brown. I was wondering if you could answer a few questions for me. I draw a single card to determine the answer of the man. The man turns around with black hair in a horseshoe pattern, bald at the very top. He speaks with a smile. Be most welcome to the house of the Lord. Of course, I am available to answer your questions. Please speak, my son. What is it that you wish to know? As Max, I reply. Do you happen to know anything about the terrible incident that happened just a few days ago? A man was found dead in front of your church using the inspiration tables. I draw to determine the reply. Fleeing. Family. The priest replies. Oh, yes, it was most terrible. I immediately fled towards to protect my family. You see, my brother and his wife were nearby, and I didn't want anything happening to them. I heard the yell, and I am sorry to say that I fled immediately, my son. I was only thinking about protecting my family. I am ashamed for my actions. But I prayed to our Lord Jesus, and now I am feeling much better. I knew that He would forgive me, and so I know it in my heart. As Max, I say, so you heard yelling. Can you give me any other clue about this? I am very interested in this horrible tragedy. You see, he was my uncle. I draw to determine the response. Community. Fountain pen and notepad. Well, you see, my son, I was writing some documents planning community events. As you can see, the celebration is proceeding wonderfully, says the priest. But I didn't notice anything else. As Max, I speak. Excuse me, what is your name? Father. I draw to determine the name. Everybody here calls me Father Heinz. Father Heinz, yes. I find it very odd that you were preparing some documents, writing some papers here in the church, and you decided to exit, and you didn't see anything while leaving the church. I draw to determine the reaction of the priest. Using the inspiration tables. Well, yes, I was very nervous. You know how there's this talk that they were smuggling goods, and a mirror was found, as I understand it. So I was thinking that perhaps it was the smugglers coming to attack, and they were perhaps fighting against each other or squabbling. As Max, I speak. You mean to say that it could have been related to the smuggling of the mirror? What can you tell me about the mirror? I draw two cards to determine the response. Secrecy. Lust. The priest replies, now, my son, there are some things that should be kept secret, otherwise we will draw upon the lust of demonic beings. Please, my son, do not continue with this line of questioning. This is a house of God. We don't want any evil feeling attracted to this holy place. As Max, I say, thank you for your time, Father. Indeed, I will bother you no longer. It shames me that we had to meet up with these grim tidings. With a smile, the priest replies, yes, yeah, now, move along. I will continue with my work, and the blessings of our Lord Jesus Christ be upon you, my son. As Max, I exit the church and make my way towards cousin Paul's house. Max arrives with no event disturbing his path. As Max, I stand in front of the door and knock on the door 3 times. I draw to see if cousin Paul opens the door. The door opens, and Paul is standing in the doorway. I draw cards using the inspiration tables to determine what Paul says. Hurt. Domination. Cousin Paul speaks. Max. Max, I was injured. Somebody was attempting to overpower me. As Max, I reply. Hurt. Overpower you. What do you mean, cousin? Please, let's go inside. There could be prying eyes and indiscreet ears around. Cousin Paul allows Max inside. He shows Max a couch where he can sit, and Paul sits on a chair. I now draw to determine the reply, the response from Paul, using the inspiration table. Hope. Painting. Paul continues. Max. I was hoping to get some answers, tracking down some of the smuggled goods, specifically painting. Very valuable painting. It is said that it is worth a lot of money. And surely, if the evildoers that were trying to frame our uncle were behind this, they must have paid special attention to the painting. But all hope abandoned my heart as I was making my way to one of the warehouses where the police were examining the smuggled goods. I was attacked by a man. As Max, I speak. Paul, did you get a good look at his face? Paul replies, No, I was almost knocked out. I just felt a heavy blow behind my head. And as I started to turn around, the individual was already running. Perhaps he thought it was too much of a risk to have a prolonged confrontation. As Max, I inquire, Cousin, do you happen to know if the painting is related to the Kruger family? I draw a card to determine the response. No, it was not, Max, it was not. Paul replies. As Max, I say, Cousin, I propose a plan. And now, both Max and Paul are aware that it is now the afternoon. As Max continues, I propose that we go and do a little stakeout. We pay closer attention to Father Heinz's activities in the afternoon. Paul speaks. But why, Max? As Max, I reply. He confirmed that he was present in the moment of our uncle's assassination. And I find it very odd that he didn't attempt to help our uncle. He just fled, according to his explanation. So get your gear, anything that you may find useful, cousin, because now we must find a way, a place, to observe the church. I draw to see Cousin Paul's response. No, no, cousin. I don't want anything to do with that. Father Heinz is well respected. I don't think he has anything to do with this. As Max, I speak. Ah, cousin, it pains me that you are still under the dogma and doctrine of the Christian Church. If you won't accompany me, then I will have to go on my own. See if you can investigate further, cousin. But watch your back. I don't want you dying on me. I draw to determine Cousin Paul's response. Yes, I guess you can count on me, cousin. Cousin Paul replies with a forced smile. And this concludes the session. Wow, the investigations are pretty difficult. I couldn't find like a very strong lead. We're going to have I will have to go alone as Max and spy on the priest to see if he's related or if I spot something unusual or suspicious. Let's see how it turns out. Thank you for watching this tutorial actual play. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. Wow, the time sure flies by. But you're having fun. And if anyone else wishes to further support the channel, consider joining as a member using the Super Thanks button. Take a look at the information in the description and in the pinned comment. This has been your host, Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. And remember, in tabletop role-playing games, you are not having a conversation about your characters. You are experiencing the game world as your characters. Once again, thank you and see you later.